Hey, Chicago, what do you say? This is CHGO Cubs pregame show on CHGO Sports YouTube. Cody Delmendo, Ryan Herrera, and Jared Wyllys. Luke Stuckmeyer, he's like, I'm not coming in today.
He took a day trip to Mexico.
Yeah.
He took a day trip to
He's like,
He takes too many day trips to Mexico.
I know, right?
He's
Or
like,
last year when he was gone in Mexico for like 2 months.
Yeah.
getaway day is usually a day game. He's like, 5:35.
He's like, no, I'm
He
staying
said,
out.
get away to the beach.
I'm Luke Stuckmeyer.
Yeah. Law on the ones and twos, as Luke would say. Welcome. We got Cubs in like 30 minutes. We got things to talk about, but first, I want to remind y'all, we got our watch party out at Village Tavern in Carroll Stream tomorrow. This graphic on the screen, it's awesome. Not only because I'm in it, but also because it's a great thing to come to. All right,
It's Cody and it's the community, which is
in
what
the
we're
community.
trying to do.
Yeah, there you go. That picture was actually taken when I was out in Colorado last year. Shout out to all the diehards that were out at Coors Field last year.
Cubs Rockies, right?
Yeah, Cubs Rockies. And anyway,
I mean, they weren't playing the Dodgers, Ryan.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. You got me there.
anyway, yeah, Village Tavern for Cubs Cardinals tomorrow. We got giveaways. I know we're giving away a gift card, $50 for I think up to $50 for the CHGO locker. So you can get multiple Showtime shirts, or you can get multiple Friday 120 shirts.
That's
or you can get a regular CHGO shirt. I know the pizza hoodie or the pizza shirt is still, really popular. That's one of my favorites.
Gotta get the Showtime for the All-Star game.
That's what I'm saying. We just restocked the Showtime shirts. They were sold out for a little bit. We just restocked recently. And you should buy more of them because he is an all-star and he shoved yesterday, and he's the reason the Cubs have won 3 in a row, or part of the reason the Cubs have won 3 in a row. So, yeah, we'll have that. And then, obviously, Michael Evans' comment says it all. Haven't been able to make it to a pod at all lately, but got to say, Village Tavern's tendies are absolutely incredible, and their honey mustard they serve with it is just as good, if not better. I'm not sure, but I'm ready to try.
I'm telling you, no one's lying.
All true.
No one's lying. Like, we're not paid to give this great review. Like, the chicken tenders are awesome.
And like I said before we started, I live literally 2 miles from this Village Tavern, and I dream of these chicken tenders.
He dreams of them.
I do.
Well, you get the aluminum tray.
Oh yeah, you get that big aluminum tray.
Yeah.
These things are amazing. You think you know chicken tenders. And then you have these, and the bar is just, it gets raised.
Yeah.
So he's right about the honey mustard, too.
World famous.
Yeah, so, again, it's free to come out to. The link, it might be in our description, or it's on allchgo.com.
Yeah,
you can
we're tweeting
RSVP.
it out as well.
Yeah, we're tweeting it out. We're just asking people to RSVP, so we have a good idea how many people are coming out. So, yeah. Anyway, that's news. The bad news, I guess, is Cody Bellinger officially going on to the injured list with that fractured finger after getting hit by a pitch last night. Alexander Canario promoted. Not surprising that it's him, in my opinion. Thoughts? You guys go first.
I mean, it's obviously a hit, and we've been talking about Bellinger, how he's having a fine season, but for what they need him to be, it's not at that level. And so I don't think it the way that Michael Busch and Seiya Suzuki and Ian have been hitting, it probably doesn't derail the offense, but it's definitely a hit for sure. Because he's a guy that even if he's not slugging, he's putting the ball in play. 2 strike counts. He hits pretty well in there, right? Because he has a good 2-strike approach. He's getting singles, or at least he's putting the ball in play and trying to beat it out, or at least moving a guy over. That stuff matters in the offense. Maybe not as much as hitting home runs and stuff like that, which is what you were hoping Cody Bellinger could get back to doing. But all that other stuff still matters. So it's a hit to the offense for sure.
Defense.
And defense as well, considering the versatility, center field. He's been playing a lot of right field. He can go play first base. So, yeah, for sure. Thanks for mentioning that. Don't want to not give him credit for being a really versatile, solid defender. So it's a hit, but I don't. It doesn't derail the Cubs, especially as they look to be heating up. But a lot of guys are going to have to step up, whether it's those three guys I mentioned being better on offense, whether it's PCA, he's going to probably have to play every day, and he's going to have to, step it up at the plate as well. Obviously, the defense is great, but he's going to have to step it up. Seiya Suzuki's probably going to have less opportunities to DH and be playing a lot more right field every single day, right? So he's someone that as far as defensively is going to have to make sure he's on point. So guys are going to have to step up. I think the Cubs can weather the storm. Obviously, the All-Star game the All-Star break being next week, that's 4 days of games. You're not missing Cody Bellinger, right? That's a good time. That's as good timing as an injury can be. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's a guy you were counting on, a guy that provides you value, and a guy you're gonna miss for sure over the next. I mean, I guess the most recent update is maybe looking at late July. So a guy that Cubs are gonna miss for sure, I think.
Yeah, and Ryan, you kind of alluded to it, but the first thing that came to mind when I saw that he left the game last night, and then of course today when he went on the IL officially, was just the quality of the at bats that you're losing, because even though, as you said, the production hasn't been at the level that you kind of expect from Cody Bellinger, but even in something of a down season for him, you're still consistently getting quality professional at bats from him, which makes a big difference for your whole lineup when you've got somebody out there that's doing that. So that's the part of it that I think is going to be one of the biggest challenges for whoever has to step up, is trying to provide that, because PCA, I think you'll get the defense in center field. There'll be no drop off there, but as we've all seen with him at the plate, there's going to be a difference in that regard if he's getting most of the starts. And the other side of it is you talk about the Cubs trade deadline plans are still kind of in flux, but now you have a guy who could have been a trade piece who's now going to be out until it sounds like maybe right up to the deadline. That really throws a wrench in whatever they might do, or who knows if they even know what they're going to do yet.
The update from Megan Montemurro, Chicago Tribune. She tweeted this a half hour ago. Cody Bellinger, fractured left middle finger, is shut down through the All-Star break, and then will begin range of motion rehab afterwards. He could be back late in July, but it's too soon for the Cubs to know how long it'll take for the fracture to heal.
So he could be past the deadline before
he may be on the IL past the deadline, which if you're talking about whether they're buying or selling, that could definitely have an impact on it. Just obviously it can have an impact on the field, but if you're talking about selling, how many teams want a guy with a fractured hand? It depends. Depends on who's really interested.
Well, you said it earlier. I mean, his value isn't exactly high anyway. In my personal opinion, for the sake of having the conversation, because of course we're going to have this conversation every day in the month of July. If you trade Cody Bellinger for the sake of just getting the contract off the books, you're acting like the Milwaukee Brewers, in my opinion. That's just not what organizations like the Cubs should be doing. Has he had a down year? Yes. In terms of what you're paying him, yes. He absolutely has. But he's also not been so bad to where you don't want to put him in the lineup. I'm sitting here today and I'm I feel kind of weird. I feel like he already kind of needed a break anyway. I don't remember the last time he had an off day. He's been hitting a lot of ground balls. I feel like a lot of the singles he's been hitting the late have been infield singles.
Getting it through the infield on the ground.
Yeah. A lot of his at-bats have just not been aesthetically pleasing. He hadn't hit a home run since early to mid-June, right? He hasn't slugged. Outside of a few games against the Phillies last week, I don't remember the last time he really went on a stretch where he was slugging the ball. All right?
Yeah.
So, is it an unfortunate situation? Yeah. Is it the worst situation the Cubs could possibly be in because not being able to trade him? No. I'm just...
It's more about on the field that you're feeling that way.
And
for me, at least, that's how I feel about it.
So for me, it's that. And I'm sorry, moving a guy just so you can open up a spot for Owen Casey or Alexander Canario or whoever is also just, it's not good practice in my opinion, because you don't know what those guys are going to be. Those guys should be getting put into the lineup and hopefully they turn into added bonuses to the offense. I understand that they're outfielders, and I understand Bellinger's an outfielder, and right now Michael Busch has been so good at first base in general offensively and improved defensively, so you're not playing Bellinger a lot over there. But at the same time, you want to have, in my opinion, the team is better with him and those guys somehow getting some chances in there. Also, Casey got hurt, and he's not even going to play in the Futures game. At this point, I don't know when he's going to get a promotion. The only reason that I even want to see Owen Casey or Matt Shaw or any of those guys at this point is because they're choosing to go full developmental year the rest of the year, if they choose to go that route. But it's always been I've always said, even when they were 9 games under, I've always said that the organization is not set up to sell assets like they were set up to sell assets last year or the year before. So it was always going to be really hard for them to move anyone unless they were having a great year, like an Ian Happ, for example, but he has a no trade clause. And, it's all very, very like complicated stuff. It's not just like, oh, they're all rentals and you can sell them,
I think you're worrying about something that you don't really need to worry about as far as just getting Bellinger's money off the books. Like if they're going to trade Cody Bellinger, it's because they're actually in sell mode. Like they're too far out of the race. They're looking to get some kind of value back on whether it's relievers or whatever. Like it's tradable assets is where I personally see them trading Cody Bellinger. Like they're not
trying to clear the books.
If they're going to try to push for the playoffs, they're not going to trade Cody Bellinger and then promote a prospect to see if they can fill the void. I think you're worrying about that. You don't have to worry about that. Is my point.
Mm-hmm. That's fair, and the only reason that I'm somewhat worried about it is just because of the last recent years of where they've just kind of moved guys like Yu Darvish, for example, or stuff like that. I know that was like 3-4 years ago, and the organization's in a different spot now, but also because they do have all these outfielders that they're high on, and in closing, despite how much of a quote-unquote down year he was having, he was for sure the most valuable piece they had. So no matter what happened, I still felt like they could have traded him. If he was healthy, I still feel like they could trade. I think
you don't have to worry about that. If they're going for the playoffs,
right,
they're going for the push.
Well, even if they were going for the playoffs, I wouldn't have been surprised if they did.
I would have been,
but
quite surprised. Actually.
Either way, it seems to me that he's probably not getting traded now, and my hope now is that they keep playing like they have the last week, and we see some growth from some guys, and when he comes back, it feels like an added bonus.
Right, and the good thing about the way they have been playing lately is this question may not matter anymore, because their approach to July 31st is probably looking a little different right now than it was even a week ago or 2 weeks ago. Because if you look at how they've played lately, this is, in my opinion, it's too early to say, hey, they're going on the run that Cubs fans have been waiting for, but they're at least in the early stages. If that's what's happening, then it's hard to ignore the fact that they've won 5 out of their last 6. They're potentially going to sweep a first place team tonight.
Yeah, going for it,
or even if they don't, they took a road series against the Baltimore Orioles. That's significant. So. Yeah, you look at what they've done lately, they're kind of playing themselves back into the conversation of, with some additions at the trade deadline, then we can talk about a wild card spot or at least like performing the way that I think a lot of people expected that they would this season. Because so much of why this season has felt like a disappointment to Cubs fans is the expectations were a lot higher.
Yeah, no, and I'm with you on, I think we and Cody have basically said, while Luke has been saying the Cubs should trade for the last week and a half now, or just sell now, I think me and Cody have both been at the point where it's if you still got a chance, if you still have a realistic chance, go until you don't have a realistic chance anymore.
I think it's a combination of that, but also just understanding that they just don't have any rentals to give away.
I mean, that's definitely part of it. They don't have Like they have relievers, right?
Yeah.
Like or Mike Tauchman could, as long as he gets healthy and plays well, like he could be in that spot. But
yeah, you're right. They're not set up to be sellers at the deadline anyway. Because even if they do make a few trades, what you're going to get back in return isn't significant enough that it's going to make some sizable difference to your organization.
But like, and what I'm about to say, it's all based off what I read on social media, what I read in our YouTube chat a lot. Like a lot of fans are like, they want them to sell in terms of moving on like actual notable pieces of the core of this era, right? Like maybe Nico Horner is the only one that I can understand.
Tyone
maybe, but
as
like you're not going to be able unless you get Happ or Seiya to waive that trade clause, which if it's the right team, maybe, but you know, it's one of those things that it's up in the air, man. So I just don't know.
It's funny, well, like you mentioned that Patrick Mooney, The Athletic, they have that like trade rumor kind of update type thing, trade deadline tracker, whatever it is. I don't remember the name of it, but I would assume as Patrick Mooney, Happ, talking about like trade deadline and where he's at, and like basically like was discussing why he values being with the Cubs, being in Chicago, like his wife's from the area, you know, all this kind of stuff of like
he's invested a lot in the community here. Yeah.
So like reading that and you know, having my own conversations with him. I bring that up because that came out today. But I'm, you know, having my own conversations with him, all this kind of stuff, whether it's scrums, individually, whatever. He really values and loves being in Chicago, being a Cub, playing, you know, at Wrigley Field in front of Cubs fans, all that stuff. I find it hard to believe that he'll waive his no trade clause. So just for anyone that's like trade Happ, it's going to be
a
hard sell.
It
would be a hard sell to get him to trade, because one of the things he said in that Athletic piece was like you were like, it's basically like you work very hard to get security, and you kind of have to work hard for a long time to get it. Like you don't get. I think it was the quote was like, you don't get a lot of security in this game, and when you do, you work very hard to get it. It was something along those lines. And so he worked hard to get it. He pushed for that no trade clause. He got it, and part of the reason was he wanted to be here at least a few more years. I think I personally think it's going to be a tough sell to get him to waive his no trade clause, regardless of where the Cubs are at in July.
Well, I will say on the flip side, that's very big of him, considering he's been here for as long as he has, and they've only won for 2 of those years. And the first year, he wasn't even that big. Well, I guess he was a big part of the team in 17 and 18. I know he spent half the year like on the minors. He was in AAA
for a while that year.
Yeah, and they played one playoff game that year. I don't even know if he was in the lineup that day. So he hasn't been he wasn't part of 2016. Like he hasn't been a part of a lot of winning here, to be honest. And like he deserves to be part of a winning team, and that's why the idea of, you know, now that Bellinger's hurt, maybe the Phillies are like, well, what about Ian Happ? Would he be interested in waiving the no trade clause there? Schwarber's there. Castellanos is there. He played with those 2 guys. You know, I'm sure I'm thinking there's another guy that he knows well there, you know. Like they're one of the best teams in the league, you know. He's never won before. So that's the only reason I say it, you know. But I'm not advocating to trade him. I'm saying that if I'm him and he wants to win, he's 29 years old, he's having a career year, you know, if they work up a deal with Philly, like I wouldn't like be surprised.
I would still be very surprised.
I would be too.
I'd be completely shocked.
But I can see
I'm just being honest, like I would be very surprised
because I think what you're saying is the one thing that might convince him or lure him away or get him to waive the no trade clause is if he is feeling like I want to win, I want a shot at a World Series ring. And I feel like I've got a better chance if, you know, say it's Philadelphia, and I go there this year in a trade, maybe then. But I think it's
I think the other
it's a good hypothetical for like what might it take. Yeah, that's probably it.
I think the other part of it is like he actually believes in what kind of Jed sold him on, as far as like where the direction of this team, the prospects out, and like in his mind, like he actually does believe this team is on the kind of trajectory to where they could be reaching those levels of winning baseball while he's still under contract, right? I think that's part of it too.
Just last quick thing on Ian Happ. I don't think the Cubs are interested in moving him, but you're right. If he wants to move, you can. But I mean, who are the Cubs upgrading in left field if they move Ian Happ? He's still one of the best left fielders in baseball, defensively and offensively.
Well, again, like if they were to make a move like that, it would be a sign that they're thinking about development the rest of the year. You know what I mean? That's either playing Canario every day in left field, or if Owen Casey is healthy. You know, like that's the thing. And I just don't think that it's smart to go that route whenever you want to call up Owen Casey and Matt Shaw and Ballesteros when you have guys on the team and you're trying to win, and they can be like added bonuses to your offense. In my opinion, that's the best way, because that's how they did it beforehand.
I think on the other side of it, there's value. There would be, I mean, if you're in a lost season, right? If you're out of it at the deadline, you're trading. Like, there is value in having those guys just coming up and playing every day. It might suck to, like, if they struggle and then see them struggle, and I'm sure they would feel like it sucks to struggle. But like going out, if you gave them a month and a half, 2 months to end the season where they're just playing a lot, like, there's value in that. Again, I'm with you. I'm not advocating for that. I think while this team is still in it, they should be trying to make the playoffs and try to make a push in July while they still have a shot.
Right.
But
because this isn't a season that feels like it's on that trajectory.
Right.
Yeah. They're still.
It's still possible.
They got a shot, man.
They could lose tonight and then lose 3 or 4 in St. Louis. You know,
right? A week from now, this could all feel very, very different.
Yeah.
Speaking of tonight,
happy birthday to Justin Steele and Bo Steele, by the way. Also, Justin Steele was in my TikTok live last week giving me. He told me Derrick Henry over 10.5 rushing touchdowns. For the season.
Wow,
for the season. Over 10.5 rushing touchdowns for Derrick Henry. I'm like,
I like it.
All right, Justin Steele in my TikTok live giving me gambling advice.
That's a pretty good play. I like that.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, no.
Are you going to credit him if this plays out?
I feel like I have to play it now. He was like, it's a lock. It's gonna hit. I'm like, well, he's on the Ravens. Like, they run the ball.
Man.
He does love football.
Yeah.
But he's coming off the complete game against the Angels. On Friday? Yes, the Friday 120 Club. It was the first win in like 5 tries. We were vibing, or we were just enjoying the fact that we got to sing the song. I don't know yet, or I can't remember. So yeah, he's 1-3 with a 2.95 earned run average on the season, going up against a guy for the Orioles, last name Suarez. I don't know off the top of my head his first name, but
Angel Suarez, right?
I wanted to say Angel, but I didn't want to mess it up. But 5-2, 2.48 earned run average. So the regular numbers say
Albert Suarez.
Okay. Going up against them or him, who he's obviously had some success with the Orioles, but Steele going for the sweep tonight on his birthday. I mean, would we classify this as a low key legacy start
for Steele?
Yeah. Like, this would be one that maybe we talk about for years to come.
Yeah.
Potentially. I mean,
on his birthday, chance to sweep a first place team in a season that feels kind of like maybe you're trying to save the season.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Or did he already have his legacy start Friday? And they've won 5 of 6 since he started, since he took the ball,
that's
right?
True.
It was at Wrigley, a Friday
first complete game. That's been a goal
yeah.
for him. Looking at his numbers real quick, last 8 starts. So this is like, obviously we've talked about it. Like, he came back from the hamstring injury, the first after opening day, which his opening day was good up until like at 4 2/3. Like, he looked like he was kind of rolling.
He was,
in Texas. Comes back, has a pretty solid start against San Diego, and then the 2 against Pittsburgh were rough. The 1 against Atlanta was rough. Those were the first 5 starts of his season. Since then, his last 8 starts, 1.67 ERA, 54 strikeouts in 54 innings. So that's pretty solid compared to only 12 walks. Opponents have a 4.88 OPS against him in that time. He's been
dog.
Yeah, he's been awesome. And like the fact that we've talked about, like, he didn't get a win for until his most recent start. He didn't have a pitcher win, which like we don't necessarily.
Only Luke.
Luke really cares about it a lot. We don't necessarily care about that, but it's funny just like when the number still says 0 for a guy that's pitched good. Like you would think a guy that pitched that well, that number should not be 0. So
well, in June, the most runs he gave up in a start was 3.
Yeah,
and that was against Milwaukee, and they had some bad defense in that game. That's the start that he went into the dugout and yelled, "Wake the fuck up!"
So he's been great.
Yeah,
so
he's been good.
Besides Shota, like him and Shota, I don't know who you feel more confident taking the ball at this point because they've both been so good. Especially Steele, the last 8 starts has looked just like Justin Steele that we saw for a large part of last season. So we're talking about, and I've seen it on Twitter, like. The Cardinals are throwing their 4 best pitchers at the Cubs. The Cardinals aren't going to have to see Justin Steele and Shota Imanaga. I'm like, okay, but those 2 pitched against the Baltimore Orioles. Like that's the team you want them to face. I mean, I get the Cardinals, like the rivalry. They're in a division. You're in St. Louis.
The wild card standings.
But Baltimore Orioles we're coming into this series the best team in the American League. Like you want your two best pitchers pitching in that series.
And it's not as
To
if
me.
it's not as if the Cardinals could like line up their starters for this series anyway. It's just
Just
the way
how
it
it lined
worked
up.
out. So
The way it worked out.
and really like if there's one part of the Cubs team that I feel the most confident in, it's the starting rotation. So even without Shota and Justin Steele in that series, I still feel good about most of the rest of that rotation, that they can go into St. Louis for 4 games and at the very least get a split there.
Yeah. I guess we can look at the lineup. We got Horner leading off, playing second. Michael Busch batting second, playing first. Seiya Suzuki in the 3-hole instead of Cody Bellinger tonight, playing right field. Ian Happ in the 4-hole. Will there be people? Happ's not a 4-hitter.
We'll get that.
Will we get that by the end of the weekend? Will we get that? Okay, so Happ in the 4-hole, playing left. Morel batting 5th, DH. Swanson batting 6th, the shortstop. Mastroboni, my guy, after that, playing 3rd, and then PCA and Nito to round it out. So, listen, the only thing about the lineup that I'm let me start by saying that I don't really have a problem with the lineup. I wasn't surprised that Canario wasn't going to be in the lineup today. All I'm asking related to Alexander Canario in the call-up is that play him. Like, play him some. That's all I'm asking. And I'm someone who's down on him. Like, he came up when Seiya Suzuki got hurt with the oblique at the end of April, and he got a decent run. And he struck out 40% of his plate appearances, okay? So I wasn't very impressed. At the same time, it's still a small sample size. If I'm going to sit here and say that we have to be patient with PCA, I have to do the same thing with Alexander Canario, all right? So I'm not asking you to play Canario every day, but I am asking you to play him. He can't sit on the bench for a week like Mastroboni did, and thankfully he's kind of been a spark on this road trip, you know, and over the weekend, you know, like and the thing is that Mastroboni, we know who he is. He is a utility player, can play multiple positions, whatever. Canario was part of a major trade involving Chris Bryant, and he made his debut last year. He's been up here multiple times this year, and we all are still sitting here kind of like, what is he? We don't know, like, and I understand you're trying to win and you're trying to develop at the same time, and it's tough. I understand. But at the same time, I'm just asking you to play him. That's it. Sometimes. Not even every day. Sometimes.
Well, without Bellinger and Tauchman's also obviously still on the IL.
It's gonna happen.
There probably is more room for him to play at some point. But I was gonna. You talked about like he's part of the Chris Bryant trade and all that. I'm sitting here like I don't think Craig Counsell gives a damn about that. To be honest, like
that's fair
because he wasn't part of that trade. He's just worried about winning today and winning tomorrow, winning the next. Like once tomorrow comes, he's winning that day. Like I don't think he cares. Like not that he doesn't care about seeing what this guy is, but like his main focus is on winning the baseball game that day, and whether that's and so like his whole thing is like putting together the best 9, the best lineup that are going to give us our best chance to win. If he feels that's Canario, he's going to put Canario in there. If he doesn't, Canario's may come in as a pinch hitter later. Like it's just like Craig Counsell's his main focus is just winning the baseball game today, whether that's with Canario in the lineup or not. Whatever he feels is the best 9 to win that game that day is how he's going to do it.
And that's
and we may disagree with it, but like he's the man. We don't get paid to do that. I wish.
Because that's what he's looking at is Canario a part of a winning lineup? Yes or no?
It's possible.
Then and there probably will be days in the next week or so when he thinks that he is, so he's going to be in the lineup. But you're right. That'll be the only reason he's there.
Or facing a lefty and like PCA sits.
You're playing
and
a matchup, that sort of thing. Because it's like we talked about earlier, we're not in a season where they are looking at development, where they're trying to give players looks. He's got games to try to win. That's the number one priority. But at the same time, I empathize with the feeling of like, okay, the guy's up here. I do want to see what he can do. It would be nice to see some consistent starts.
And that's what I mean. Like the fans for sure. And I get that feeling of like, especially as a fan, you're probably like, they traded a World Series hero for this guy 3 years ago. We still don't really know what he is. I get that feeling. I'm just looking at it from like Craig Counsell's lens of we're just trying to win a baseball game today.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, for me, like at this point, because Bellinger is out, This is kind of how I view whenever Tauchman went down and they called up Mastroboni. My guy, Miles Mastroboni, okay?
He's a good
Right?
dude.
Played right field yesterday.
They called up Mastroboni, and then he didn't play for like 2 weeks, it felt like, okay? And it's not even that I'm advocating for Miles Mastroboni to play. I'm just saying that if you lose a guy like Mike Tauchman, who at that point had been a top 3 player in terms of WAR for your team for the entire year, and you call up a guy who's just going to be at the very end of your bench, you're not helping like replace that production that you're losing. At least with Canario, we've seen him hit the ball out of the ballpark, all right? And this team needs more slugs. So all I'm saying is I trust Craig to put him in the right positions to succeed, but at the same time, we've watched this organization continuously just sit guys over and over.
I think it would be fair from your viewpoint if like you see a matchup where it would seem like Canario would be the right fit and he doesn't put him in there. I would think it's fair to be critical of that. Sure. From your lens, I think it would be.
All right. Well, we can at least we compromised.
No, it's other compromise. I'm like I get where you're coming from. I'm just bringing it from Craig's point of view. But like I think it's also fair for you to criticize in that sense where you're like, this would, if you go into it like this would be a good spot for Alexander Canario and it's not. I think that's fair to be critical of that. And it's like, why didn't he try him here?
Fair enough.
I don't think that's unfair, at least.
That all said, with Bellinger out, I'm now really excited to see how PCA really does get this full. I mean, he's had full run anyway, but you know, like they're gonna kind of need him to step up. And he's got his. I know he didn't play for that week because of the stitches in his hand or whatever, but he got those 2 hits off Wheeler in the game before yesterday, and then he got a hit off Burns last night. So his last 3 hits have come off Zach Wheeler and Corbin Burns. So like now you got another guy tonight that is not nearly as good as those guys. And I would just like, I'd like to see a breakout game, like a 2 or 3 hit game. Like just show us the defense, show us have a random ass game where you hit everything. Like I just want some sort of like, get me real delusional.
Is he still stuck on the 1 homer from the Houston game?
Yeah, it's just the one.
Then maybe you should
Tonight's the night.
open up Circa and.
Well, I did open up Circa and bet Ian Happ to hit a homer tonight.
Okay, I like that one.
Maybe double sprinkle a little bit on PCA too. You know.
That said, I still took Mastroboni for who you got. So
fair enough. Oh, so I take Bush.
He's taking Bush. Jared, you gonna take something?
You know what? I'll go Ian Happ.
All right. He's been hot. I've been picking Happ too many days in a row. I feel like I have like a little.
Yeah, Happ feels like an easy choice.
No, I mean it's a great choice. I'm just like I think I have a standard where I don't like.
He has
picking
been
the
super
same
hot
guy.
lately. Yeah.
All right. Well, the game's about to start. I'm just gonna say like this is must win. Like I don't want to go to St. Louis coming off a loss. I know they won the series, but you have a chance to sweep one of the best teams in baseball.
Yeah.
And no one had any hope of actually winning the series, and you actually won the series. You should be playing with no pressure tonight. And you have your best pitcher, in my opinion, on the mound. Like this is the prime opportunity to get greedy. Get greedy and like go sweep a series, man.
What did we say? 5-2 is what we kind of said we'd feel good about this week.
Yeah,
that's true.
That sets you up pretty nicely for that.
Yeah, if you were to sweep today, you only have to. I mean, you obviously want to. I mean, at that point,
you sweep today, I get greedy about the next series too.
But you only need a sweep or a split in St. Louis to you say, okay, 5-2, you feel good about that.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah,
right. Well, yeah, we're almost halfway to my 5-2 week.
7-0, baby.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin's delusional. Let's go.
I won't be satisfied without it.
All right. Well, we'll be back after the game. Hit that like button on your way out. We got 22 likes. I don't know how many people watching, but we need more than 22 likes on this video. All right. So, yeah, we'll be back after the game. Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs pregame show. We'll see you later. Bye.
We all silly like the mayor.